Welcome to Animal Stories for Kids. If you like our stories, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to our podcast, and share it with your friends and family. If you're listening on Spotify, you can support the podcast through listener support. Plus, check out exclusive show-related content and join the community at patreon.com/Animal Stories for Kids. And now, it's time for our story. Once upon a time, there was an Arabian Tahr named Amani. Amani the Arabian Tahr lived in the desert mountains. She was a very curious Tahr, and she loved to explore her surroundings. Except one thing was always slowing her down. She kept on having to find a source of water to drink because living in the mountains can get very dry, and also balancing on the rocks and cliffs and constantly having to catch yourself from tumbling down took a lot of strength and focus. All of these things made Amani constantly thirsty. But somehow, she would always find a spring of water in small creeks that are about to dry. It just became a chore for her to always have to find more water. But that didn't stop Amani the Arabian Tahr from exploring nature. One day, Amani was exploring a new part of the mountains when she came across a rock hyrax. Amani the Arabian Tahr said, "Hi, I love meeting new animals up here in the mountains. If you're not super busy right now, do you want to play?" The rock hyrax was surprised to see Amani the Arabian Tahr, but was also very friendly. So the rock hyrax said,
"Sure, can we play hide and go seek? It's super fun in these mountains."
So Amani and the hyrax played hide and go seek and had many hiding spots because of all the rocks in the mountains. They both had so much fun, chasing each other on the cliffs and mountain edges. And after a long time of playing together, Amani the Arabian Tahr and the rock hyrax became thirsty. And as they were exploring the mountain, the rock hyrax told Amani,
"Have you ever heard of the never-ending spring of water?"
Amani the Arabian Tahr stopped and looked at the rock hyrax in disbelief. "A never-ending spring of water? What is that?" Amani asked. The rock hyrax said,
"Just like the name. It's a never-ending spring of water."
Amani asked, "So like a spring of water that doesn't dry up?" The rock hyrax nodded slowly in agreement with a big smile and said to Amani,
"Do you want to find it?"
Amani the Arabian Tahr said, "Yes, I do. But what do you mean by find it? Don't you know where it is?" The rock hyrax said,
"No, but the legend says that the never-ending spring of water will be found where starlings gather."
Amani asked, "Where would that be?" Then the rock hyrax said,
"Well, I've actually been looking for it my whole life. I never could find it. But I think what the legend means is that if you see a group of starlings, it might be a good clue that you're getting close to the never-ending spring of water. So maybe we should be on the lookout for some starlings." Amani the Arabian Tahr agreed, and they both started on their search for the never-ending spring of water. And to get there, they had to find a group of starlings. Amani the Arabian Tahr and the rock hyrax traveled for a few days, climbing over mountains and crossing deserts. And finally, after a few days of traveling and searching, Amani the Arabian Tahr and the rock hyrax came across a flock of starlings. They were all perched up on a dried-up tree, and as they saw Amani the Arabian Tahr and the rock hyrax, the starlings all flew away from them, heading deep into the hills of the desert. And so Amani the Arabian Tahr looked at the rock hyrax and said, "I think we found the starlings. I can't believe it took so many days to finally find them, but we're finally here. I have a feeling we're getting really close to the never-ending spring of water." The rock hyrax said, "I know. It's so exciting. I've been looking for it for a long time and I can't believe I'm finally getting close. Let's hurry up and follow those starlings before we lose them."
The little black starlings flew fast, but Amani the Arabian Tahr and the rock hyrax ran fast too, and they were able to keep up. They followed the starlings through narrow ravines in the desert hills and over some jagged rocks. And after a while of following the starlings, Amani and the rock hyrax became thirsty. They were so thirsty that they slowed down. Amani the Arabian Tahr said, "Oh no, we're slowing down and the starlings aren't stopping. They're getting away." The rock hyrax said,
Oh no, we're so close, yet so far.
As Amani and the rock hyrax slowed down, and as they were climbing up another hill, the starlings began to drift farther away from them in the air right in front of their eyes. And as Amani the Arabian Tahr and the rock hyrax struggled to climb up, the starlings eventually disappeared into the hills, leaving behind Amani and the rock hyrax on their own, climbing in the middle of a hill in the desert. The rock hyrax was frustrated, disappointed, and thirsty, and hot, and said to Amani,
We were so close. We followed the words of the legend and found the starlings and followed them as far as we could, but we just couldn't keep up. Maybe we should just turn around and go back.
Amani the Arabian Tahr said, "No way! We came so far and followed the starlings for so long. We can't stop now. Look, we both saw the starlings flying over the hill, and if the legend is true, we should keep following the starlings. So if the starlings went over the hill, we should go over the hill too. Look, if we get up to the top of the hill and the starlings aren't there, let's just make up our minds and go back. But if the legend is correct, we might be closer to the never-ending spring of water than we think." The rock hyrax agreed, and they both climbed up the rest of the hill. Even though they were thirsty and hot and tired and discouraged, they kept going up, helping each other out along the way. And after a little bit, they kept climbing up, and they finally reached the top. And as they both pulled their bodies up to the top of the hill, they both fell on the ground to catch their breath. They both wanted water so bad, and some shade, and it was so hot up on the top of the desert hill. And as they both caught their breaths and stood up, they looked around looking for the starlings and where they could have gone. And then Amani the Arabian Tahr saw something shining in her eyes. It was bright and annoying her, and so she looked away, saying, What is that bright light in my eyes?" Then the rock hyrax said,
I think it's the sunlight bouncing off the water and hitting your eyes.
"Water?" Amani asked. The rock hyrax said,
Yes, it's water.
Then Amani the Arabian Tahr said, "Could it be? Did we actually find a never-ending spring of water?" They looked around the water, and they spotted the starlings drinking from the water. Then they both cheered and started going down the hill. And the rock hyrax said,
I'll race you down the hill.
Amani said, "Okay, last one down is a vulture's meal." It was such a steep side of the hill that they both lost their footing as they were rushing down, and they started sliding on the rocks and sand instead of running down the hill. And they both started sliding down the hill faster and faster. The rock hyrax said, "Woohoo!" Amani the Arabian Tahr said, "Wee-hee! This is so much better than running down. I think I'm gonna win." And after sliding down the side of the hill, they both slid and ended up at the water at the same time. And soon they came right up to the never-ending spring of water. The spring was actually an oasis, and it was filled with clear, cool water. But to the Arabian Tahr and rock hyrax, it was the legendary, never-ending spring of water. Amani drank as much water as she wanted and didn't have to worry about drinking up all the water because the water wasn't drying out. And after drinking all the water she wanted, she felt refreshed and happy. The rock hyrax drank a lot of water too. Amani the Arabian Tahr and the rock hyrax stayed at the oasis for a little longer. And Amani enjoyed playing and splashing around the never-ending spring and playing with the rock hyrax and the starlings. Then it was time for her to go home. She said goodbye to her new friends, and she set off on her journey back to the desert mountains. Amani arrived home safely, and she was so happy that she was able to find the never-ending spring of water. When she told her other friends about it, they were all amazed. And every once in a while, Amani the Arabian Tahr was able to tell them about the legendary never-ending spring of water and tell them the story of how she and the rock hyrax found the spring and drank as much water as they wanted. And the Arabian Tahr lived happily ever after. The end. The Arabian Tahr is a species of tar native to eastern Arabia. A tar is a large goat-like mammal related to goats and sheep. The Arabian Tahr is the smallest species of tar. An adult male can weigh up to 90 pounds, while females can weigh up to 44 pounds. It has a stocky build with backward arching horns, and their coats have long reddish-brown hair with a dark stripe running down the back. Males have more robust manes that extends all the way down the back and grow longer based on the age. In the older males, the muzzle gets dark and black, and the eye strips are also darkened. They have rubber-like hooves so they can balance and keep traction on the steep and rocky slopes, which is the environment they mainly live in, and can be found in altitudes close to 6,000 feet above sea level. They are mainly found in the Hajar Mountains in Oman and the United Arab Emirates, as well in the area of Jebel Hafit. The Arabian Tahr is a solitary animal, which means they live on their own most of the time, or they live in small groups that include a female and a kid or male. Arabian Tahrs usually feed on grass, shrubs, leaves, and fruit from most trees, and they are highly dependent on water and need to drink every 2 to 3 days during the summer. They come down from the highest points of the mountains to drink water and also to travel to new areas when the water dries up. The Arabian Tahr is endangered due to overgrazing, poaching, and habitat destruction. Have you seen a real-life Arabian Tahr before? If you have, where did you see it? If you want to write to us, ask your parent to email us at animalstoriesforkids@gmail.com and tell us what you think of our stories. We would love to hear from you. Thanks for listening to Animal Stories for Kids. If you like our stories, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe to our podcast, and share it with your friends and family. If you're listening on Spotify, you can support the podcast through listener support. Plus, check out exclusive show-related content and join the community at patreon.com/animalstoriesforkids. Until next time, bye!